Recently, Tamron announced a brand new ultrawide zoom lens already available for Sony E mount and soon to be available for Nikon Z mount, the new 16 to 30mm f2.8 G2. And I was pretty interested in that lens because the price is very reasonable at just over $900. It is a 2.8 zoom and it is less than half the weight of what I have over here, which is my current ultrawide zoom lens that I'm adapting on my Nikon Z system. This is a DSLR lens, and I was thinking, why not revisit the same lens over here? This is the true grandfather of the Tamron 15, 16 to 30 line. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven from Kurgani Photos. Today we have a long-term lens review over here. Now I won't be too technical with the review of this lens, like no pixel peeping of any kind. Guess that if you wanted that kind of review, there are plenty of other reviews out there on YouTube already for this particular lens given its age. This thing is probably at least 9 or 10 years old by now if you count starting from the launch date. Yeah, back in the mid-2010s or so. So this lens, this brick over here is the Tamron 15 to 30mm f2.8 DI VC USD, which is like the grandfather of this line of f2.8 ultrawide zooms by Tamron. There were no f2.8 zooms before that, I believe. This was the first one, and then there was a G2 that came out like 3 years later. Same thing, 15 to 30, same size, but there were small improvements. And then for several years, Tamron never had such a lens for mirrorless until the 17 to 28. But that lens was pretty disappointing to me because the zoom range was way too small, 17 to 28. I do appreciate the size reduction, but it was way too small, yeah, the zoom range to be that useful. And now finally, barely a month ago or so, we have the new 16 to 30 G2. So I'm revisiting this lens because I'm not sure if I want to keep this lens or to sell it. If I'm going to sell it, I might as well review it now, make content out of this lens before I let go of it. And this ultrawide zoom lens is obviously for DSLRs, available for Canon EF, Nikon F, and also Sigma SA, I believe. Just that the biggest problem with this lens, as you can see, is the size and weight of it. 1.1 kilos. And if I add in this FTZ adapter over here to be used on Nikon Z, that is an additional 200 grams. So 1.3 kilos over here. Having this lens on any mirrorless camera, it is a bit like having a 70 to 200, which is very heavy by today's standards at least. But 10 years ago, an ultrawide zoom lens at f2.8 weighing at least 900 grams or 1 kilo was normal back then, yeah. So Sigma had the 14-24 ART as well for DSLRs. That was the only ultrawide zoom lens I know of that is slightly heavier than this one at 1150 grams, an additional 50 grams or so. So this is very heavy. There are 3 reasons I can think of why this lens is so big and heavy. Number 1 was that it was designed for DSLRs, so they had to bend light a bit more to go through the mirror box before it hits the sensor. Number 2 was that this lens has VC, vibration compensation. I just don't understand why Tamron calls their optical stabilization VC or vibration compensation. To me, it is a really weird phrase. They are trying to compensate for vibrations in case you jerk off too much. And the third reason, this lens has way lesser vignetting and also distortion than most modern mirrorless ultrawide zoom lenses, and that is the one thing I appreciate this lens so much for. I have to wonder if bigger and heavier ultrawide lenses that don't distort too much is no longer a thing today. Like camera brands, they refuse to make lenses like this nowadays. They prefer to rely on digital corrections, because they want to reduce the size and weight. I have used this lens on the D850 for many years, and occasionally I turned off digital corrections, especially if you are doing star trail shooting, night sky shooting. Sometimes you don't want any digital corrections, otherwise when you stack the photographs together later on, the star trails will not line up properly because the image was being stretched, and yeah, it could cause problems. That is why some astrophotographers until today, they still rely on fully manual lenses. It is exactly for this reason. And nowadays, many modern ultrawide zoom lenses, yeah, they distort way too much to be very useful in astrophotography. The vignetting levels are also way higher, but at least we have, AI denoise nowadays to make up for the darker corners. Anyways, I was thinking, why don't camera brands make two types of ultrawide zoom lenses, the smaller and lighter ones, and also the bigger and heavier ones for those of us who want perfect optical image quality, straight out of camera, straight out of lens, without much corrections digitally. Just like what Laowa is doing with the 0D lenses, zero distortion, I mean. So their 0D lenses don't have much distortion, if any at all, but those Laowa lenses, they still vignette pretty heavily. So with modern mirrorless lenses today, I compare it back. This may not be the sharpest lens, but this is among the lower distortion, lower vignetting ones. And for that reason, I'm still holding to this lens until today. It was for something that trivial. Not to say that the size and weight is a good thing. It's definitely a bad thing, because if I move on to the new 16 to 30, I will be shaving off almost 70% of weight. 1.3 kilos with the FTZ adapter, down to under 500 grams on the new lens. That is a lot. That is the weight of another camera body, in fact. 700 grams of difference. However, if there is one reason why I couldn't justify selling this lens, other than the fact that it is still very good, very competent, is that how much does this sell in the used market today? Actually, around $350. You can get one in pristine condition for $350. Yeah, this thing is still in excellent condition after being in use for 5 or 6 years by now. And this has been one of the best value lenses I have purchased. I bought this pre-owned myself back in around year 2018 or so for $500. And now, 6 to 7 years later, this is worth $350. So in that short amount of time, this lens has only depreciated by $150. So the bad news for me as an owner, if I sell it, it does not feel like it is worth selling, because this is an excellent lens by all means in terms of image quality and performance. It is a pro level lens, weather sealing and everything. But on the other hand, if I don't sell it, this thing will be collecting dust on the shelf, displaying as an ornament of some kind, as a display piece, as a collectible, because $350 is not much. Like, I am not getting much money back from selling it as the thing. So I would rather keep it in case in future I buy a cheap DSLR. You know, I'm interested in picking up a cheap, maybe D600 or something from the used market, and then at least I have lenses to use on the DSLR body. Despite having a bulb head in front, which means you couldn't use any filters, this lens is very resistant towards flare. You can shoot directly into the sun and you get only a little bit of ghosting, nothing too much to be concerned about, not too intrusive. So shooting into the sun and flare performance is excellent. Sharpness, I think there is not much to discuss. This is a pro level lens. If you're happy with a typical ultrawide zoom from any brand, maybe other than the very best, like those $2,000 lenses from Nikon S-Line 1424, or maybe the Sony GM 16 to 35 Mark II, other than those top tier $2,000+ lenses, you compare this to any modern mirrorless lenses today, be it Sigma 16 to 28 contemporary, or even the Tamron 16 to 30 today, this lens is going to hold up really well in terms of sharpness, both in center and also in the corners. So the only real negative I can think of about this lens is that the size and weight, and nothing else. Yeah. So if you are a DSLR owner, you still use DSLRs today, and you want cheap ultrawide zoom lenses that opens up to f2.8, this is really worth looking into. It is selling used for $350 today, plus minus $20-30. You can also go for the newer G2, though you are not gaining much. The image quality is ever so slightly better, but it is really up to you. And one more thing before I forget, this is the only Tamron G1 DSLR lens that is fully compatible with Nikon Z. For every other lens, they are not compatible unless you buy the G2. The only catch is that if you buy one to adapt it on mirrorless, but it does not work, it means that you need to send the lens in to Tamron's service center to have it updated, the firmware. This lens is not compatible with the Tamron tap-in console, which we used in the past to update firmwares on lenses. That Tamron console is only compatible with G2 lenses. Yeah. So this is a unique lens in the Tamron lineup for DSLRs for this reason. Yeah, at least to us Nikon users. So, should I keep it or sell it? Keeping it might be the better idea, I suppose. What do you think? And if you found this review to be insightful or helpful in some way, please to give this video a like and subscribe to this channel for more camera gear and photography content. Until then, thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.